space that's around him. He's lightning fed by the space that surrounds him. Take it all in. Breathe. Forever be. Forever.
Hey, welcome to Unsung. I'm your host, Blake Quimby. We're glad you're with us. Hey, before we get started today, take a few moments and visit these platforms. Subscribe, follow us. We'd love to have you along for the journey as we talk with those that are lifting limelight in our area and supporting roles and hearing their story. I think it's been a lot of fun, so we'd love you to come along with us. Today, our guest is a husband. He's a father. He's a talented musician. I want you to welcome Mr. Nolan Burke.
Hello.
Hey, buddy. Welcome.
What's up?
Yeah, welcome to Unsung.
How are you?
We're doing well. We've made it this far. This is great.
Lifelong friend. It has been a very long time, and we're old, you know?
Yeah, I
When I
guess you
met
would
you-
say that.
What year was it when I met you? 2000, maybe? Or could have been before that.
No. Before that, I mean, man, this is really. I should have called your mom. You know, I don't. We should have got Charlotte and Jerry on and see. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's been has to be 25. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Sweet mercy. Yeah.
5
So
I don't know. I think I was like 12, maybe when we met. 11.
something like that. I have a picture, and this is what I remember you as the one with the you had a like a brooch. Is that a brooch that you had? What was it?
Are you talking haircut right now?
No. Like remember that hat you used to wear? It was like a brooch hat, like a brooch. Is that
Like
that's
a,
a
like
beret?
a European. Oh yeah, sure.
You had a beret when I first met you.
I
Um,
had a whole thing going on.
Yeah, I don't know how old you were, but I do remember, you know, I mean, I think we all have in common of our Living Waters days. And so I remember you walking up with your, I was trying to find the picture of that one bag you used to have. You remember that bag that you carried around everywhere? It was see-through. So, you know,
yeah, I do.
The TSA agents would be very happy with you.
Yeah, I wasn't doing fly dates quite yet. I had a see-through bag.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember like putting my I had that effects pedal, like multi effects thing that was yellow, you know, Digitech.
Oh, Digitech.
And I carried it in that clear bag.
It was orange,
What a
wasn't it?
bag.
Was it orange? It was an orange see-through
Maybe.
bag.
Yeah.
I mean, many moons ago. You've definitely upgraded, hopefully since then.
Yeah. I mean, I think so.
Yeah. So I
Oh, that
remember.
makes-
I mean, the Nolan I remember is you know, we were doing some worship at the church, and you walk up, and we went to school. Well, we went to private school together, and I didn't know that you went too as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Living Waters School?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went to
Yeah,
private
you were-
school.
I think when I met you, you would have been a senior or you just graduated. And I was
Really?
still, or maybe not.
Yeah. So I was, you know
You were an
what?
upper class.
We're gonna say we met physically because I've known your family. I've known your sister for a long time, over 20 something years, and maybe we met like when we were like juniors or going in. So like that was like 99, 98 or something like that. Given that,
Graduated
I don't
in
know.
99?
I graduated in 2000, so maybe I was like a junior in like 98, 99. 99 was our 99 and 2000. So around that time, many moons. Anyways, you walk up like, hey guys. Hey. And I remember like, I was like, yeah, this is great, whatever. And then you spent a whole, well, I don't know how long it was. It felt like a long time, but you spent a long time with the one and only Michael Cash, and he had you explain like what happened in that moment.
Well, my memory is that I was like playing guitar. I had a guitar in my hands, and this is how Michael tells it too. But I don't. Maybe this isn't true. Now it's
Yeah.
everything's very, very cloudy. But I had a guitar in my hands, and he heard me play, and I was playing this. My guitar teacher had taught me this thing where you play two songs at once. So the bass line is one song, and the melody top line is a different song, but they're happening simultaneously. So that was like my party trick when I was 12. I can play two songs at
Mm.
once. So I'm playing that exact thing on the steps of the Pitts building,
Mm.
and Michael was bore witness to it, and he was like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And I was like, "I'm playing two songs at once." And then he struck up a conversation, and he was like, "Well, I have this band, and you got to come play with us." And so that was really, I mean, honestly, the band was called Surrender, by the way. Let's just go ahead and throw that out
We're
there.
gonna say it out loud.
Classic band. Never made any records, but
No.
we should have. um,
Well, I mean, I think
that
he
was
was
the first band I ever really played in.
really.
Quite frankly, I mean, you guys were like my foray into organized people playing music together in an ensemble.
Well, I apologize in
Whatever that
in advance.
That's an overstatement, potentially.
I apologize for your first
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I mean, because it was, Charlie Cash was, it probably amazed him because Charlie was, one of those guys that could play like 5 songs in one, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like he has
It was
that.
definitely from the Charlie Cash school of, because it was like I don't remember what it was, but it had the Chet Atkins vibe. It was like a walking bass line, alternate thumb picking thing.
Yeah.
So I think Michael heard that and his ears perked up. He was like, "Hey, sounds like my dad."
He loved you from the start. And it's really not hard to love you. You're a very lovable guy. I mean, just look at you. You have your boyish looks. I mean, you're doing it,
My
we can
hoodie
see,
on?
with the hoodie,
I didn't know this was like a video thing. I should have, I might
eh,
have cared a little more about my.
yeah.
I would
It's
have
funny that you
thought
say that because everyone has said that. Like, how do you know this was going to be something that people would see me on, and
Yeah, huh?
I would have gone and cleaned my ears out, like stuff like that.
Back in my life. Yeah.
So you are now. How old are you now? 50? What is your current age?
35. You just asked me that.
I did, yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm really bad with numbers.
35. Yeah. So I'll be 36 in September.
Yes, that's right. And you've been married for how long now?
It'll be 10 years in
Come on.
November.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10. So how did you? Now I know a little bit about Winter. She's a super sweet, beautiful lady. You've definitely won the jackpot on that one. She can sing, right?
Yeah.
Possibly. Still sings. I see her every now and then throw out do something here and there. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. And I miss that. But so how did you guys meet? What was the rendezvous where y'all met?
Yeah. We met at this venue that was called Fuel Cyber Cafe. You remember that place in
I
Humble?
do. Hey, you know what? That's really funny. Didn't we do like a showcase with some girl and I played bass with you and like 2 other guys for like a showcase it was really awkward. I remember it was just an awkward moment. Very,
Maybe.
anyways. Yeah.
And
Anyways.
it was there.
It was there. It was like some little
Probably
rinky dink place. And it might, I don't know. I'm just going to say it was there, but I don't know. Okay. Continue. I'm not going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we met there. It was New Year's Eve, and my friend's band, the Finalists. Remember those guys? They were playing.
Sweet boys.
I was not playing. I was just I was in attendance, and she was too. So we have this mutual friend that was there and basically introduced us that night. And I was like super nervous because I had heard her music. She was already starting to release music, And I thought her music was so cool. And really, my intention at the start was like, I just want to collaborate with this girl and play in her band or whatever. It was never like a romantic thing, you know. But when I met her, I was starstruck. You know, I was like, this is a local celeb. I'm in her presence. So we had a super awkward first encounter because I was really nervous and barely said anything. And then fast forward, like we ended up exchanging info, or I don't know, we were talking on AOL Messenger or something, you
Ooh,
know,
wow.
or
Yeah.
MySpace. That was the hot deal. This was 2005, I think. So, or it would have been, I think it was New Year's Eve of 2005.
Mm.
So that was the deal. And we sort of started dating a few months later, and then we dated for a very long time, as you know.
Yep.
And then I proposed to her also on New Year's Eve. So that's sort of become a special day for us because we met that night, and then I proposed to her in New York uh, on New Year's Eve, and the rest is history.
10 years
As they,
later, you have you have some children, right? A boy and a girl,
yes,
right? Is that right?
the girl, yeah, yeah. So they're 8 and 5, and yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. We're just like doing the family thing, you know. It's
Um,
pretty fun.
yeah, so you have an 8 and a 5 year old. I have an 8 and 11 year old. You believe that?
Oh, wow.
Um, so now you're a dad, you're a husband. What do you love most about being a dad? Because I'd figure you'd be a fun dad. But
Oh man,
what do you love about being a dad?
try to be fun. Yeah, there's so many things I love about it, you know, and it really caught me off guard. It continues to surprise me as they age, you know, and like we hit all these new milestones, and like we went to the rodeo this week, and my youngest Snow, she's the girl, she did the mutton busting thing, you know, which is so Texas, you
You
know.
gotta do it. You gotta do
Uh,
it.
but she was just watching her like do this thing was so amazing and fun. Like, and yeah, just those little weird, surprising experiences, I guess, that you have as a dad, where you're kind of you end up in a situation or a moment that you couldn't have really anticipated, but it's magical, you know.
Mm,
Uh, I'm loving it. Yeah, and it's like cool for me because with my what the work I'm doing right now, I have a lot of flexibility. So it's been nice to, especially in this season of their lives at least, to be pretty around, you know, and be able
yep.
to kind of we're homeschooling them too, so we can just kind of pick up and do whatever whenever we want.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we're homeschooling too, which this is our going into our third or fourth year, I think.
Oh wow.
So, um, so we feel
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy.
But
Have you brought any outside like help in on that deal, or do you feel
well,
like you're gonna need to? That's what I
well,
worry about, the
yeah.
high school age thing, or just like when they start doing math that I don't understand, which is already almost happening. Honestly, I'm so bad at math. My 8-year-old's throwing me math problems. I'm like,
I just know
that's you
I
got
just know
this one, buddy.
numbers. I know the number. That's I know the number
But
system
I have
too.
a
That's all I've got.
calculator in my pocket. That's what I.
You know what? We have my mom. So my mom was a school teacher for like 30
Oh
years.
right,
So they go like
yeah,
a quarter or
that's a
half the
good one.
time there with Nettie, and then they spend a couple days here with Crystal, and she works from home. So it's a but see, we're doing like online stuff. So I don't know what you guys might be doing a
Yeah,
mashup of stuff. So it's a lot of work. I mean,
yeah,
being a parent of a homeschooler. I mean, because I don't know what challenges you face so far, but for us, it's like how do we keep them? Because we have our own reasons for homeschooling them, but how do we keep them engaged where they're people, people persons, right? They can still have they're not the weird. Because I remember Bethany, right? We always used to joke around about the funky homeschool vans, right? And then when they get out, like, oh, the homeschoolers are here. Like,
exactly. You can spot them a mile away, and
you
then
know,
once you see them emerge from the van, then that's the real tell, because the outfit, the vibe, there's a whole homeschool thing.
Mm,
And I feel like this current generation of homeschoolers is starting to help break the stereotypes down a little bit. When
yeah.
we were younger, homeschooling was it was so
It
weird and
was
odd.
weird.
Now everybody's kind of doing it. So I think we for us, we're in these co-ops. We're a part of like two or three different co-ops, and it's really cool because they go on field trips or like whatever, once a week or every couple of weeks. There's like a get together, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
So, and it's cool for me because I'm able to go to some of that stuff. Like we went to this one room schoolhouse thing a couple of weeks ago, and it's like a historical experience where it's like this lady and she's pretending to be a 1800s school teacher.
That's awesome.
So I'm sitting there in this little tiny desk just watching the whole thing go down, and literally I was like, this is why I hated school. Like being in that environment, I was like, this is why school was so hard.
It's
And like
tough.
the structure of it just drove me crazy. I just couldn't wait to get out and be. So my
Free.
parents, I basically, because Living Waters was right at the cusp of like when I was exiting eighth grade, was sort of the big town hall meeting. Like, are we going to keep doing the high school?
Yep.
I don't know if you remember
Yep.
that.
Yep.
The funding wasn't there and the interest wasn't strong enough, so they
Hmm.
ended up bailing. And so I was sort of left at this precipice starting high school. Like the private school that I would have gone to is now not an option. So I begged my parents, like, please, can we do some kind of homeschool thing? Because I do not want to sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day for the rest of my life. It felt like the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
So it worked out, and lucky for me, because my high school years were really when I met y'all. And I mean, I started touring and stuff at
Yeah,
age
you did.
15,
Yep.
and I had like so much flexibility to do all that. So it really was a major blessing.
And your parents were super supportive of your career. Your career just it happened, right? I mean, you just kind of came into it. I mean, and they were
Yeah.
super supportive. They were pretty much almost at everything, or majority of the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
They were always there. Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
and the crazy thing is I met this guy when I was 14, 15, probably, that was like from Dallas. And he's like, man, I am in this band and we all live in Dallas and like we need a guitar player. Would you be consider doing it? So, and the first gig I remember was one of those summer camps. It was sort of like that hybrid band that everyone had where
sure.
you play the church circuit and the camp circuit, but we would also play in bars and stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, uh, so they recruited me, and I ended up joining that band. And like literally all the gigs were like in Dallas and beyond. It was never like we're playing in Houston. So my parents would drive me like halfway to Dallas constantly. And then whoever from the band would meet us halfway and take me the rest of the way. I couldn't drive, and it was just like the craziest high school experience now thinking back, like super not normal. At the
Well,
time, it just felt like, well, this is what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, it's
But
cool. I mean, because you just kind of fell into it. You're doing it. People are paying you to come do this. I mean, I mean,
yeah,
you kind of were this, this kind of boy wonder where you just not many people were like you, right? You just had this knack for playing guitar, um, and now you play many different instruments. But I mean, you're known for that. I mean, you just had it, right? You're what they call a natural, you know. Um, and your
Dr.
parents
Cody.
recognize that. And I think that's really interesting that your parents just hopped on, like, you know what? Whatever we need to do to get him rolling in this, we want to support him. How did that make you feel, man? Like knowing that your mom and dad had your back, even driving you halfway to Dallas and then just going home. I mean, that's
Yeah.
or whatever they did. I mean,
No,
how'd that make you feel?
I was very grateful for that from the get-go, and I feel like amongst all my faults as a human, I did at least have that sort of understanding as a teenager, like this is a big deal. My parents are like killing themselves basically to
Yeah.
like ensure that getting to go walk through these open doors and pursue all these opportunities. And yeah, I mean, like really thinking back to my past and those sort of formative years of me as a dad, husband, future human being, whatever, man, but also a musician, like that was it was just crucial. There were so many crucial moments and experiences that I had that like made me be able to do what I'm doing, you know,
Yeah.
and they were like super instrumental in that. And you were too, honestly. I mean, I think you're on this short list of people that sort of brought like took a chance on me, and I just remember you you were such a connector of people in that time and bringing me into all these different circles of musicians that would have been like sort of beyond my reach otherwise, because I mean, we're like small town Rosenberg people,
Yeah.
not like going out and connecting, especially me because I didn't have a car, like I was immobilized.
Well, yeah. I mean, if anybody wanted you to come play with them, it's like, like you got to come pick me up, man. It's like
Yeah,
I just at least need a ride. I don't care if you pay me or not. I just need a ride
you gotta
to
pick
get
up
there.
and then you gotta take me home. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was always the hard part was getting me home because it's like, okay, the gig's over, it's midnight. Who's gonna take Nolan home? He lives super far away from everything. And yeah, so but that I just remember you were like my wheels forever too. And
Well, yeah,
Michael,
yeah, and
you know.
Cash. Yeah, yeah, Cash was. I remember going to your house. Like I don't know, man. He worked at the Drury Inn, and
Yes.
he would just come home at midnight. I come to your house like at midnight or
Yeah.
something, and he would just like sleep there, fall asleep. You were playing Nintendo or whatever. I do remember playing a lot of Nintendo there.
Yeah.
And I'll call him, hey, where you at, man? He was like, I just woke up. I'm at Nolan's house. Let's go to Waffle House.
Exactly. That
um,
was it was like sort of like the college experience we were living in high school,
there we go. Yeah, yeah.
And
We
then
got
for
started
me,
early.
it's like I just didn't go to college and I don't think I ever felt the need to because I was already in college,
Yeah,
I'm a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid. I'm in college. I
yeah.
have no responsibility. My parents let me do whatever I want. My schoolwork, literally, it took me like 2 hours a day to do my school. And then I'm like, all right, I'm done. Let's play guitar and party, go on tour. I
Yeah.
like literally get in a van and travel the United States and see what happens.
Do you still love? I mean, you're a family guy now, but do you still love the traveling aspect of it all, or do you? What's something that you now that you're kind of getting older? I mean, you're still young, man. I mean, you're 35, about to be 30. Crystal just turned 37, right? And I was like, man, I miss my 30s. But like like where are you at in your life? Like, do you prefer either one, or what do you love the most?
Well, yeah, I mean, I love touring and I always did. That was definitely like, I love the studio too. I think I had to sort of like, I've always been able to juggle both in a way
Right.
where I never really picked a lane and said, I'm going to be a studio guy or I'm going to be a touring guy. Uh, but definitely, starting a family put a quick wrench in my ability to tour with a good conscience, because I just knew I know guys who do it and make it work for sure. Uh, but for me, it just was going to be too hard. But I love touring and I miss it like crazy. And I mean, obviously my family's more important to me than being on tour.
Yeah.
But I would love to.
I mean,
I'd
because
love to.
you've seen the world. I mean, you've traveled, you've done that, you've seen a lot of the world, which is a very unique experience, right? I mean, not a lot of people get that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And especially in my 20s, and I'm so grateful too that I got to do all that, and go to 5 different continents, literally play music, in as a young kid,
Yeah.
really, basically, and get paid. Like, what a blessing, Uh, but yeah, I definitely, and I feel like I've gotten some really killer offers like in the last 10 years that I've turned down, just because it just didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at this point in time. But I do think, and I would have a desire to later in life get back out on the road, like when my kids are older, and I think in shorter bursts than what I may have done before, or what a lot of guys are doing, where you're gone for 4 or 5 months at a time. That's what's hard for me.
Yeah.
If it's little quick runs or weekend jaunts, then it's cool. But I've also just kind of I've built a career here in Houston, really, that's like hard to justify leaving, like even
Yeah.
for a weekend.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's the other sort of thing that is always in my mind. But I still travel some, and even like now with the wedding band, we're traveling a little bit. We went to Cancun a couple weeks ago, and so it's like fun to also do it on my own terms
Yep.
versus like jumping onto the circus and following whoever wherever they want to go and do things. And that's the bump rap of touring, is you end up with a bunch of days off in a place that you don't want to be at, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, I remember being in New Orleans for like 12 or 13 days for this like long conference gig, and we had all this downtime, and I'm like, of all the places to have downtime,
Sure.
I'm in this terrible city.
But there's just two, like you can't go to what's that place people go to? They get that fried thing. You can only have like a couple of those, and you're like, I'm just done.
Right. You're
I'm
like,
just,
I'm gonna die.
I want
I
to go
will literally
home.
have a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly.
The food was definitely the highlight
Well,
there. And I
sure.
would just, every day I'm like, I'm gonna go have lunch somewhere different today and try like a new thing. Uh, but yeah, and then the flip side is like, I've definitely gotten lucky and had a week off in Australia or whatever, and then that's like, okay, I'm going to the beach, and this
Well,
is
that's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, that's great.
But
Um,
you're sort of like at the mercy of the thing, like you're a mercenary, and that
yeah,
was, I like that life because I feel like it sharpened a lot of skill sets that I still use and enjoy now. So if I can sort of slip into that mercenary role,
mm,
I will, if it makes sense. Like even next week, I'm playing this singer-songwriter gig, which I don't do that much because I'm like running my own band, and I'm real selective about the gigs that I play that are outside of that, because it's just time, and
yeah,
time is money, you know.
sure.
Uh,
And you guys are, I mean, you're doing pretty well. I mean, it looks like you're having a lot of fun, first of all.
yeah, for sure.
And you're getting to play with we've had, I call him Mr. Tyson, but we've had Tyson on the podcast, and
Yes.
he's just a super great guy. But apart from just being an extraordinary drummer, he's a great guy just to be friends with, right? I mean, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
There's many other guys that you get to, I mean, you kind of get to pick who you get to play with, right? I mean, that's kind of cool. You get to play with your friends, right?
Yeah. It's amazing. And I get to hire them, really. And like, that's be a beautiful thing it's sort of like a fringe benefit of doing this whole thing that I never really realized was going to be like, uh, but yeah, the hang and the camaraderie, and especially like we just did this trip to Mexico, so we're together for a couple days and eating meals together. And so, I mean, you know how that is. That
Yeah, it's
is
fun.
what brought us
Yeah.
all together to make music in the first place. Like even back then, it was like, of course, we want to play music, and I think we were all thinking of it as a career option. But for me, I was like, the circle of people, and like you said, it's just lifelong friendships that you're forging. Like it's just a it's just a thing that comes on the side with what we do. That's a bonus, big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. It's friendship, it's community. Um, and so those things are exciting, especially get to do them together and get paid. That's kind of fun, and have some good food and see some cities. That's all great. But doing it with
So
friends is a big deal. Inquiring minds want to know something about you, Nolan. When on God's green earth are you ever going to do a solo album? The Nolan Burke. The Nolan Burke experience.
Yeah, it's coming for sure.
Okay.
And I've been working on uh, a specific project for a long time. And really, it's just keeps getting put on the back burner, unfortunately, which is sad.
You
But
sound just like our good friend Michael Cash. Like
oh, yeah.
he like in our first episode, he's like, "Yeah, I bought all this gear to make my record, and I just started recording other people's records."
Well, and he's got this weird thing about how he hates the studio or whatever. He doesn't want to play on anything, or he
Yeah.
hates recording himself. So that's really that's gonna be a big challenge for him to overcome, to put out a project.
We just want one, Michael. If you could just give us
Yeah.
one, we just
Oh
want
man.
one.
There's a lot of genius in that brain of his that's gotta
Got
at
to get it
some
out.
point come out. Yeah.
Got to get it out.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was so Winter and I especially, we've collaborated on tons of stuff over the years, and she's a brilliant writer
yep.
and a brilliant lyricist, especially. So we've been working on some songs for a while, and really, there's a the making of a project that's it's pretty close to the finish line. So it is going to happen. I just
Oh,
don't know when.
good.
It's crazy because like after the pandemic, things really came to a screeching halt for me.
Right.
All my gigs were canceled, and the church thing slowed way down. So it was like everyone had that experience, right? Especially people in the entertainment industry. Like my life is over,
Sure.
and a bunch of my friends went and got their real estate license. And people were just like, what am I going to do with my life? Because we may never play a gig in front of people ever again. Uh, so at that point, I really started to think about my original music again, because I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to sort of wrap this deal up. And I worked on it a lot in 2020. And then like super quickly, the world started opening back up, especially in
Yeah.
Texas,
Sure. Sure.
and like in 2021, I think we played 45 or 50 weddings. Like it was like all the weddings were like, let's do this. And then last year we played 80. So it's been the most insane couple of years where I'm sort of just like hanging on for dear life, trying to like, I'm in survival mode. So definitely creative exploits are not on my brain unless I'm sort of got to be forced into a situation where like I'll go to Jacobs and we'll do a record there, and it's like, hey, we're doing 9 songs in one day,
Sure.
and I make it work,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah, I've actually I've heard everything you've done. I've loved everything. Y'all did man, I can't remember what it was. Some project y'all did just a while ago, and I got to hear something. I think you were playing like, if I'm not mistaken, you were playing like mandolin, acoustic,
yeah, maybe.
electric, maybe keys. I don't know. You were doing like 4 or 5 things on this project, and I was like,
I'm the
man,
fall guy.
yeah,
Because the drummer and bass player finished the tracks, and then I'm there for like another 7 hours. Like, man, I chose the wrong path.
no,
I should,
no. We need we need more mandolin players in the world. There's not enough. There's
yeah.
not enough.
Well, I'm not a mandolin player. I'm just I'm a fake mandolin player.
You fiddle.
I know enough shapes to play a 4-chord song, which is usually sufficient.
You
But then we
dabble.
see these guys like Chris Thiele and the Shredders go to town. You're like, okay, well, I'm a hack,
Well, it's a beautiful hack if it's anything.
Oh,
Hey, what? I'm probably know this. I'm not going to answer the question, but is there an album that completely changed your trajectory in life?
mm,
It
well,
might be albums. I don't know.
there's a lot. It's hard to narrow it down to just one. But
How about we do this? How about we do like, say top, let's say top
top
5.
50.
Yeah, top 50. Yeah, top five.
Yeah. Uh, well, I would say I have definitely my list of favorites, which may be a different category than albums that changed my trajectory or changed my life.
Right.
I was just talking about the Beautiful Letdown the other day, which I think falls into the category, which is funny, but
Yeah.
I heard something came on, or I just listened to it again, and I feel like that was so groundbreaking for us at that time.
Yep.
I don't know if it would be a top 10 favorite for me, but definitely it was like it shifted a gear in me that was like, okay, I like this rock and roll, you know, Christian dudes playing rock and roll and making it on a mainstream radio. I mean, it was such a big deal.
I mean,
You had to
and
kind
and,
of be,
and they
you had
have,
to kind of live it.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, even my kids like them now, right? And so, even I mean, they have great guitar stuff, right? I mean, you're a guitar player. Sounds great.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw them a couple of years ago because I have a friend that plays in a band that was touring with them. So he got me tickets, thankfully, and very kind of him to do so. And I felt bad because I walked in and they were finishing their set, like last note of the last song. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm like, oh man, I totally took advantage of this guy. Uh, but anyway, I got to see Switchfoot, and it was amazing. I was
Mm.
totally blown away just by their everything, the songs, the show, the performance aspect. John Foreman was running around climbing on scaffolding, and he's in his 50s, and I
Yeah.
was just like, man, I want to be in that good of shape, first of all, when I'm his age. And I don't think that's going to happen for me if I keep going down this path that I'm going. Uh, yeah. And, I mean, man, there's so many records that I would cite as major influences for me. It's hard to narrow it down.
I'm
Definitely like,
I'm sure there's a Pink Floyd in there somewhere, right?
yeah, definitely. Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
I mean, I think I was 11, 12 when I heard that. And yeah, that definitely like inspired me big
Because
time.
your dad, I remember your dad walking into y'all's house. I can remember it was to the left. There was like a record player, and he had all the
Yes.
records out. And I remember that one was out, and you're playing it. Blake, this you're all listening to this. And then there's a lot of other ones. I mean, your
Yeah.
parents definitely had an eclectic music collection, which is really awesome. If you've never met Jerry and Charlotte Burke, you need to go meet them. You need to hang out with
Check
them.
them out.
They need
Yeah,
to
go to
print
Burke
something
Printing
for you.
Company.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're amazing. And yeah, I mean, I was exposed to like so many different styles and genres. And my dad was always into classic rock. But then also they got into majorly like all that gospel and Christian CCM
Hmm.
stuff too. So I was sort of had a toe in both worlds, which I feel like is unique because not a lot of people I know were listening to Rich Mullins and PFR, and
PFR.
all
Wow.
that stuff was really
Yeah.
formative for me too, honestly,
Yeah.
because that music is amazing. And I feel like especially Rich's stuff, if you go back and listen now, it like totally stands the test of time.
It does. You're dead on. I've been listening to a lot of his records, and I'm like, man, wow. The honesty in what he's singing is just beautiful, right? Just does his lyrics
Yeah,
alone.
yes. Yeah, and I think there was he was in that definitely a circle of people who were like the rare ones that were Christian music. It wasn't really a commodity it wasn't a thing that was monetized really yet. It was just like these guys were like, we're gonna write songs about Jesus and sleep on people's couches. And I mean, literally,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that was the business model. It was like, I hope we can get enough money to make it from point A to point B and share our hearts with people through music.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
that's
just love
beautiful.
that. I think that it's so, and not to knock what's happening now.
Right, right.
But
It's
it's
different.
definitely it's a business now, and it's an industry that's formed around it. And there's still a lot of great people doing great things for sure. But uh, there was a lot of honesty in the songwriting of Rich and Keith Green and Phil Keggy and all those
Oh,
guys
Phil
who were
Keggy. Yeah.
just great writers, great songwriters.
And you got to meet Phil Keggy, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. Well, Trey Willis, like
Yeah.
they hired Phil to come play for his dad's birthday. So it was like a whole, fly him in kind of thing. And so Trey called me, "Hey, we hired Phil Kelly to play for my dad's birthday. Do you want to come?" I was like, "Heck yeah." Uh, so it was cool because everyone sort of it was a small, super intimate thing, but all of Trey's friends that it was sort of a select few. So I was lucky to be in that group. And anyway,
That's awesome.
yeah,
I remember I remember coming in and Hootie and the Blowfish just broke. I don't know when it was, with the 90s or something. And I remember, like, I don't think I was even listening to, and you're like playing something. Maybe it was Hannah Jane. I don't know what it was. And you were playing all those solos to everything. And I was like,
yeah.
wow, that's awesome. You've you've learned an entire record.
Yeah. That is a big one. Again, not in my favorites category, but definitely in my groundbreaking, category of, I don't know why, but something about them resonated with 12-year-old me.
Yeah.
And like I just sat and I learned that a couple of their records, like cover to cover, and then like Metallica stuff too, obviously. I
Oh,
mean,
sure. Yep.
every guitar player under the sun was diving into that. And I would just sit in my bedroom and figure it out and like learn as much as I could and get, try to glean whatever knowledge I could. So that ends up, influencing your playing,
Sure.
whether you want it to or not. And it's like, that is me. I'm like this weird melting pot of all these weird different things. And now I'm into so many weird things now, it's just kind of like, it's an ever changing tide of stuff that I let into my stratosphere.
Sure.
To kind of keep me inspired or whatever.
That was that's something we had Andy Golohan on an episode, and he said that, I said, man, how did you come up with your guitar playing, your style? Because it's just that kind of open. I don't even know how you explain it. Kind of open tuning. He plays with a couple of capos, different things. So he was like, man, I didn't really know. I just kind of got in my room and just started playing, and I think maybe that's something with young musicians today. They want to start playing, they want to start doing things right away, and some can, but I think you probably might agree with this. I mean, you harnessed a lot of what you do now in that little tiny room in Rosenberg, Texas, where you grew up playing, and even in the back print shop where you started playing with bands and stuff. I mean, there has to be that formative part where you're developing your ear. I guess that's the best way to go, right? I mean, when all else fails, your ear usually doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's important. It's important to sit down and wrestle with whatever song you're listening to and just work on that. I talk to different young musicians all the time. Hey, how do I do this? Even my daughter's like, hey, Dad, how do I play this? And I was like, listen, go to your room and just start playing. Like,
yeah,
sure. You're really not a lesson guy. I mean, like, your mom gave you some lessons. Maybe you had one guy or two, but you really, you honed your stuff. And so it's like, you got to get in the woodshed. You got to work hard. If you want to be a success, especially in this industry, it's a big deal. So the woodshed is a big deal, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like real life experience too is what really took me to the next level. Like after all of my bedroom, playing in
Sure.
that tiny room 4 or 5 hours a day, plus lessons were helpful to give me a foundation for sure. But I had to really get out and start playing in bands and meeting people who were also on the same path, and like things were inspiring them. And I mean, I remember you said to me, I'll never forget this, like brutally honest, one time we played a gig together or something, and you're like, you play too much. Like you just play too many notes. Period. Like that is all that is the fact. And I needed that, I needed someone to tell me that, because no one's telling you that, until you in your bedroom, you're like, yeah, I'm freaking awesome. I'll play as many notes as I want. Nobody else is here. But I think I had to learn how to like be a part of an ensemble and play in a band and listen to what everyone else is doing. And I feel like those early gigs that we played were like super instrumental in that, like, because all of a sudden you find yourself on a stage and there's uh
Yeah.
all these people,
There's
and you
people.
gotta like, yeah, you don't want to be an idiot or a jerk. I was being that guy without even realizing it. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
I'm playing all over the keyboard player, and somebody needs to tell me to stop, or I'm just gonna keep going. Like in lovingly,
Oh,
So
sure.
you were like, I think probably the first person to bring that up.
Well, wonderful. That sounds great. I'll buy you some. We'll go get some Tex-Mex, and I'll give you some
Well, I owe
hugs.
you. I need to buy. I need to buy.
um, hey, couple quick things as we round out our time, man. Is there anybody that you would love to work with just in the future, or is there anyone you're like, oh man, I would love to work with,
Oh,
this artist, or you just give me maybe one or two.
well, I have a literal recurring dream that I'm playing for you too, which is never going to happen. It's
Yeah.
completely unrealistic. But like lately, I've been having that dream, and I'm like, I don't know. The Edge he's gone. He broke his leg or whatever. He's sick. He's got the flu,
Yeah.
and they call me like I'm up. Put me in coach,
Come
because I'm
on.
the natural. I'm the next natural choice.
Exactly.
I'm the understudy. uh, so yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of, I would say, like, there's so many artists that I love and respect and think that are great that I would be happy to go out and tour with or play with or collaborate with. Um, but I can't really think of like a super specific person.
Well, I mean, you too. That's great. I mean, that's great. I actually have a lot of questions I'll ask you off air that I have about that with delay.
That is like a fantasy thing, it's
Well,
like
yeah.
the ultimate like gratuitous rock star thing ever is like to play in a band like that. I mean, they're like the biggest band in the world,
Yeah.
or like the Stones, like Keith Richards finally bites the dust
He's dead.
and they're doing one more tour and it's me. I'm the guy,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no way, it's never gonna happen.
Well, hey, Steve Jordan's doing it right now, or he was. I mean, maybe
Yeah, true.
I mean,
You never know.
I mean, you're you're
Never know.
you're you're 35. This other guy's like what, 95,000 years old. I mean, the odds are in your favor, my friend. The odds
Yeah,
are
I got a good
swinging.
life ahead of me.
Yeah, you're good. Well, hey, man, I appreciate your time today. A big part of this podcast is really just encouraging those that are, lifting the limelight, the ones in behind the scenes. And so we ask everyone, what would be something that you would encourage someone in a supporting role? I mean, that are just working hard every day. Whether it be in church or somewhere else, teacher, whatever it is.
Mm.
How would you encourage them? What would you say to them, man?
Oh, that's good. I like this question. And I this is the first time I'm hearing it.
I love it.
No heads up.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's how we
just
do it,
kidding.
baby.
Yeah, so I would say just keep going, I mean, I think, and don't burn out though. I feel like in the thing that I'm doing right now with my life is like it's a very cyclical thing. Like, okay,
Mm,
every week I play a wedding and I play at church. Then in the next week I play a wedding and I play at church. The next week I play a wedding and I play at church. So it's very intense in that way where I feel like, you know, it sometimes feels unrelenting. Uh, but I've sort of turned a corner in the last few years to say that, because people come up to me and ask me, what do you do? And I used to say, well, I work at a church and I play music and whatever. I don't know what I would say. But now my aspiration really is to be an entrepreneur, like,
mm,
so I've tried to sort of flip a switch in my brain that says I am growing a business and I'm going to keep growing businesses until I get tired of doing that. And whatever that means. And that might mean that I do a guitar master class for 20 people one time and then I never do it again or whatever, just different ventures
right.
that are things that I'm passionate about, that motivate me and move me to want to get out of bed and go do the thing. So I think keep going, keep pursuing what you love. And even if you're working a job that is a job, which is kind of like not unlike what you're doing, right? You're working a job that you love, but you're also
Yep.
like doing this podcast, or whatever,
Yep.
doing things that excite you and inspire you. Find time to do it and make it happen. And I feel like I've done that. I've started to do that more and more, and it brings good things
Mm,
down down the pipeline to me, even if it's not necessarily monetarily or whatever, just
yep.
like stuff that fuels my desire to continue on in my work or in my career. Like that's what I'm always chasing and trying to find. So sometimes that means like going to a jam and sitting in or playing on someone's song for free because I want to do something that I care about, whatever it is. So I don't
Well,
know. Is that a good answer?
I think that's awesome, man. Doing things you love, and inspire you, inspire others. You know, every episode we just try to encourage our guests, and so I've polled some of your friends, and here's what they say about Nolan Burke. Number one, I'll make sure I read this right because I love the way he said it. I won't tell you who it was. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Maybe.
He's a friend to me. He's a friend to you. He is a friend to all.
Oh wow.
He's
That's
humble.
awesome.
He's kind. He's caring, and has a killer ear. And I would say, the knowing you for as long as I have known you, and adding to all that, say, man, your heart. There's an
Mm,
aspect of all of our lives. And I think our heart plays a big part in what we do and how we do everything in life, our heart behind it. And I think seeing you kind of evolve throughout your whole life from one season to the next, and it's not really going like up; it's just progressing in life. What you're saying, you're being consistent, right? And so you've been consistent, you've been faithful at a lot of things in your life, man. And I think where you're at right now, I think is a great testament to the consistency and to the faithfulness that you and Winter have had throughout your marriage, throughout your life, throughout your profession, raising your kids, all of that, being a good friend, being a great friend to so many. I think that's important, man. And there's not a lot of time on this earth. And I think it's
Yeah.
important for us to share these types of things with our friends that we care, that we love. And so, man, we hope that that encourages you today, because you're definitely, apart from your talent that's God-given, man, I think you're a one-of-a-kind person.
Thanks.
Dude, I can't tell you how how proud I am of you. And I know that your family, I'm sure if your family were here, they'd be like, "Yeah, we love it." But everyone who knows you loves you. Everyone who knows you is so honored to just hang out with you. I remember, this is something funny. We were going to Dallas. I don't know what, I was going there. I was driving you there. I was going somewhere different, and I was dropping you off somewhere, whatever. We had something. And you were like, "Hey, let's go. There's this new taco place that they put a cheeseburger in a taco." And I was like, "Okay, let's
I
go."
remember that place.
You remember that
Yeah.
place? And we sat there and
Yeah.
we had a taco with a cheeseburger in it. And I tell Crystal all the time, I was like, "Man, that was one of the best tacos I've ever had. It was so good." It's like, it's just about the community relationship, man. So I appreciate you. Hey, listen, if you're listening today and you're just you want to get to know Nolan more, I would encourage you to check out his Facebook, not Facebook, sorry, his Instagram, and also his website, nolanburke.com. We didn't even get a chance to talk about that. Maybe that's another thing. And also check out his cover band called Undercover Band Texas. Nolan, it was a great honor to have you, man, and we hope to talk with you soon again on the podcast.
To this place that's around him, he's lightning.
We want to thank beautiful contributors for allowing us to use their music for the Unsung podcast. You can support them by going to any platform, anywhere you listen to music, and purchasing and listen to their music.